You might go on a diet, do a digital detox, or forego red meat for a month, but have you ever said, I'm turning off the electricity for a week? Of course not. Energy use is background noise. We don't even think about it, it's just always there. Wars have been fought to keep it that way because it's so vital to modern economies, and that's why the biggest companies in the world by turnover are energy companies. But who owns that energy and where it comes from may be about to change a lot quicker than anyone anticipated. If you've seen any recent corporate marketing from the likes of BP or Chevron plonked in your newsfeed, you'll see a glossy green future full of wind turbines and hardworking engineers doing their very best to power your TV and refrigerator with, oxygen? Where's the oil? In the 70s and 80s, these ads would have featured oil gushing from spigots managed by tough blokes in hard hats and shipped across the ocean in massive tankers. Even though that's still happening, you won't see any oil in today's promotions, and you won't see too much gas either. What you're watching is the marketing language of defeat. The massive energy companies of today have to at least project an image of transition to near 100% solar and wind because that's where the future is. The debate's been over for a while, at least where people are putting their money. It's now just a question of how fast it can happen. Whether any of the current fossil fuel companies have a future, I have no idea. But behind the massive share price speculation of Tesla in particular reveals a very likely future that Wall Street analysts don't seem to see, let alone talk about. Have a look at this chart. Full credit to Stephen Mark Ryan over on Solving the Money Problem for explaining this. Here's the top 10 companies in the world. How many of them are energy companies? Most of them. Even while you're watching this, your device, even if it's battery powered, is using energy likely provided by one of the companies on this list. None of us can easily escape putting money in the pockets of energy companies. It's the perfect money printing machine, even if the pricing is competitive because of the scale of our need for it. Here's where it gets interesting. The tectonic plates under those continent-sized companies, which provide the biggest turnover of cash in the world, have shifted. The foundation blocks of a 100% clean energy economy is in view, and investors are following that shift while those old energy companies scramble to get a foothold in the new economy by, for example, buying up electric charging networks. If you follow the money though, there's really only one company currently that has the kind of game plan that can replace many, if not all, of those in the top 10 on that list. Yup. That's really where Tesla's crazy valuation starts to make sense, and it may not have as much to do with its fancy self-driving electric cars than it appears at first. But I will be covering that soon, so make sure you're subscribed to catch that. It's the other products on Tesla's glossy website that offer the best marketed snapshot of the emerging energy economy, the solar tiles and the energy storage options. Even though this concept has been around for a while, it's only now a few years away from becoming weird that your home isn't powered by a solar and battery combo. Cost of solar power generation have fallen 82% in the last decade, surprising everyone, including even the most optimistic tree huggers, and it's not stopping. By 2030, even with conservative estimates, industrial-scale solar farm installation will drive the cost from roughly the same as fossil fuels today to around 1p per kilowatt. That means once the capital costs of installation have paid themselves off, energy becomes so close to free it doesn't matter. Then it's just a question of how long the equipment can last. The only fly in the ointment is that the sun doesn't shine all year, or even all day, especially here in England. In the summer months, solar panels typically produce more than your home needs due to the longer days and sends the overflow to the grid. Of course, in the winter, this is reversed, and you need that power back from the grid. The average of the year is ideally net zero, otherwise you're using more energy than you produce. The grid, in theory, acts like a massive battery for your solar in the summer and gives it back in the winter. In reality, that excess solar gets sold elsewhere on the grid instantly, and then in the winter, fossil fuels, mostly gas in England, but increasingly wind power, provide the energy that comes back. I'm on a package with Bulb that buys only renewables, meaning buying back largely wind power for the winter. But wind power is also unreliable. At some point, there needs to be mass storage like hydroelectric dams have provided in the past. A mixture of batteries in the home and mass storage in the grid like Tesla's South Australia Hornsdale project will be how the clean energy economy takes shape. When you and your neighbours all have solar roofs connected to battery storage, you'll be replacing the energy producing giants on that list of the top 10 companies in the world. Now, I probably don't have to tell you that Tesla isn't the only company in the world making solar panels or combined solar and battery storage solutions, but Tesla certainly has the ambition and now the resources to accelerate this rollout. A lot of investors think that they will own that future energy economy, plus a big chunk of the new transport economy. They They may not. Maybe there's a competitor. Maybe investors are wrong. But at this stage, everyone else is struggling to catch up with them. Now, Tesla doesn't sell solar tiles here in the UK just yet. And although the Powerwall currently has the best battery specs, it's also the most expensive. I've brought my own hybrid using a local supplier that got me as many solar panels as can fit on our semi-detached and a 4.8 kilowatt Pylon Tech battery in the garage. The total cost for everything installed was just over £7,000, which is expected to pay for itself in around 7.5 years. After that, the energy is effectively free till the system needs replacing. A quick explanation about battery storage in the home. It's only for very short-term storage, and it just helps to store some of the energy from the day into the early evening so that you're not using energy from the grid at the more expensive peak times, i.e. when everyone else is cooking dinner or watching TV or playing computer games. At this stage, most people with solar on their roof, like me, have been doing it for ideological reasons, as long as you didn't need a second mortgage to do it. But two things are about to change that, and fast. One, Wright's Law. The principle that has driven down the price of mass-produced products since the Model T Ford is now making these systems attractive for homeowners from a dry economic point of view. Two, millions of car owners in the UK will be trading in their fossil fuel cars this year, and suddenly it's less attractive to get another petrol car, let alone a diesel one. That's because of the new phase-out policy from the government that now gives a very clear dead-end date of 2030 for those vehicles. It's hard to justify that new petrol Beamer or Merc when you know it'll depreciate to near zero in only a few years of use. The only other credible choice is an electric car, and in my short experience of owning one, I'll tell you that you will almost always charge it at home. On the days or nights that you are charging your EV, your household will be using around 6 times as much energy as usual, putting enormous strain on the grid. Right now, that cost increase in your home energy bill will be small compared to the savings you'll get from not going to a petrol station ever again. In my case, the monthly spend has gone from £70 to £80 a month with a diesel car to zero at the pump with my electric car, replaced by about a £15 to £20 extra on top of my electricity bill. But even Britain's incredible leap in wind power production won't keep up with the demand created by homeowners using 5 to 6 times more energy on the days they are charging their cars. It's tempting to see this as simply replacing fossil fuels at the pump with fossil fuels in the grid, which kind of defeats the purpose of electric cars. But that's very unlikely to happen. As solar and battery costs for the equivalent system as mine fall to £3,000 or £4,000, bundling of the entire home energy production, storage and EV charging is being considered by Tesla in Germany, revealed by their customer surveys. If that monthly cost is the same, or likely less, than your current monthly bill, then there will be a more mainstream rooftop rebellion against traditional grid-only supplied energy. Together with your neighbours sharing energy across the grid, you'll become your own local power station, and your electric car will form a part of the grid backup. Winning domination of that space is exactly what investors think Tesla will do. They won't do it on their own, as my experience proves. There's plenty of alternatives for both solar and batteries if you can get them combined and installed. But still, Tesla provides the best articulated vision for both investors and customers in the US so far. If their cars are anything to go by, I wouldn't bet against them taking a few of those slots in the top 10 on that list we looked at earlier. At this point, well-researched and quite reasonable critics point out that nuclear is a developed technology that already produces more than 80% of French energy needs on demand, without the need for battery storage. It also avoids the apparent bird carcass pile-up you get at the bottom of wind turbines, which is a very selective concern considering worst estimates in the UK, for example, are around 100,000 birds a year, but we meanwhile kill about 70 million animals a year on our roads, and no one seems to use that as a campaign against using cars. But anyway, the UK-based Royal Society for the Protection of Birds has advised that if wind farms can avoid migration and nesting sites, wind farms will have minimal impacts. They could have chosen their words better, but still, back to the French. On balance, nuclear is a better technology and getting better and safer all the time. But unless you're living in France, it's not a technology that is available for you to order online right now, unlike a solar and battery system. So if it feels easier to complain that solar, wind and battery storage is not the 100% best solution and you'd rather wait till your government comes to its senses and starts commissioning new thorium or molten salt reactors, then good luck with that. But Fukushima, rightly or wrongly, has put an end to the nuclear age in which big centralised clean energy white elephant projects were a normal political option. They might still end up providing winter energy in the Northern Hemisphere countries, but that presumes large-scale battery technology stands still for the next decade, which it isn't going to. But the real reason I believe a solar rooftop is better overall is because it's more democratic and wiser to decentralise energy production. Think about it. If there's an energy that trends more towards zero cost over time, like sending an email, do you think it's more or less likely that the near zero cost would be passed on if it was more centralised like nuclear power? We are so used to the fixed cost of energy, it's hard to imagine not having an energy bill. But in the medium term, that is quite possible with solar, but not with such a massive upfront cost to build a series of nuclear power plants. Anyway, it's a moot point. Outside of France, that ship has sailed. A company like Tesla may well become the Google of energy energy, dominating the new solar energy space so completely that it creates a false rationing of energy to create a profit from what would otherwise be near zero energy. I think I'd rather own my own energy production, but if Tesla can manage to make my energy bill £30 to £40 a month for effectively unmetered energy in the same way that internet providers offer data, then I might let them own my roof. A company like that would definitely use network effects to shift the energy from your roof around to the highest bidder and make a profit, but that's how the market works. Full transparency, yes, I have Tesla shares, and yes, I think they're massively overvalued this far ahead of execution, but no, I'm not complaining, and no, this is not financial advice. In June this year, I will have a clearer picture from the first full year of using solar and battery as a combination to power our home and car. I suspect with the limited amount of roof space, we won't be net zero over the full year, but I'll be interested to know if it comes close and whether I need to start walking around with a solar panel on my forehead to make up the difference. Make sure you subscribe to see that, not the solar panel on my forehead. And why not give this video a thumbs up to help it along? Let me know in the comments if this is pretty much what you expected already. Maybe you're further down the road than me and have 2 solar panels on your forehead. Seriously though, is this a part of the future that you see any problems with, or should we be developing a different way to a clean energy economy? Thanks for watching, and remember, the future is the only place we're all heading to at the same time. May as well make it good.